Hi everyone, I'm Linda Reimer, one of the librarians at the Southeast Steuben County Library. Welcome to Library Connections, our weekly readers, viewers, and listeners advisory video cast. Enjoy. Library Connections number 102. This is the Friday, June 17th, 2022 edition of Library Connections. And this is a special edition of Library Connections. It's the first of two summer reading editions that I'm going to do this summer. And that's because, as reading fans know, summer is one of the two big seasons of the year for new books to be published. So many books, so little time, so I thought I'd help you out a little bit by highlighting some of the great reads that are coming out this summer. I'm doing one episode today, and then there'll be another special summer reading edition episode at the end of July. So I've picked 21 titles to highlight because I couldn't quite pare it down to 20. And without further ado, let's jump right in. Our first recommended summer read, and I should mention that these titles are in alphabetical order. It's a librarian thing. We like things in alphabetical order. But our first recommended read is After the Lights Go Out by John Vircher. Now this one's really rather different. If you're a sports fan, you might know this, but that first line where it talks about the protagonist's fight inside the cage and out, I went and looked that up. The main character is a professional fighter, so if you are sports clueless like Linda, just FYI. Having said that, let me tell you about the plot. After the Lights Go Out is a heartbreaking look at Xavier Wallace's fight inside the cage and out. John Vircher gives us an unraveling understanding of Xavier's tumultuous relationship with his white father and black mother and the seedy underbelly of fighting. It's a riveting story where the drama propels you from page to page. All these threads kept me reading, but what kept me most engrossed is that although Xavier is involved in many battles, his most formidable opponent might just be himself. Vircher is a master of interior tension. This book grabs you and doesn't let go. And that review is by Crystal Wilkinson, who is Kentucky's Poet Laureate. Our second recommended read is a fun and cozy mystery with a British bent. It's called All the Queen's Men by S.J. Bennett. Amateur detective Queen Elizabeth II is back in this hugely entertaining follow-up to the bestseller The Windsor Knot. At Buckingham Palace, the autumn of 2016 presages uncertain times. The Queen must deal with fallout from the Brexit referendum, a new female prime minister, and a tumultuous election in the United States. Yet these prove to be the least of her worries when a staff member is found dead beside the palace swimming pool. Is it truly the result of a tragic accident, as the police think, or is something more sinister going on? Meanwhile, her assistant private secretary, Rosie, is on the trail of a favorite painting that once hung outside the Queen's bedroom and appears to have been misappropriated by the Royal Navy. And a series of disturbing anonymous letters have begun circulating in the palace. The Queen's courtiers think they have it all under control, but Her Majesty is not so sure. After all, though the staff and public may not be aware, she is the keenest sleuth among them. Sometimes it takes a queen's eye to see connections where no one else can. And that's an overview of the plot of the second book in this series, All the Queen's Men. The first one was called The Windsor Knot, so if you'd like to read the first one first, check out The Windsor Knot. Our third recommended read is the new thriller Blue Lake by Jeffrey Bolt. Two lonely people meet in the workplace and become close. Jason Erickson is a state judge hearing environmental cases who's getting some unwelcome political pressure. Tara Highsmith is an environmental journalist covering some of Jason's cases, though she's soon to be exiled to the science and health beat. As their relationship develops, Jason and Tara discovered shared passions for the Wisconsin wilderness, their book club, and each other. But, and you knew there was going to be a but, Tara is married. Meanwhile, Jason grows increasingly concerned about a strange conversation with an attorney. Was it an attempt at a bribe? Jason finds himself embroiled in several high-stakes ethical dilemmas involving powerful political figures, groundwater polluters, a corrupt developer, and his feelings for Tara. As he fights to stay true to his personal and professional principles, the list of Jason's enemies swells. Before long, shots are fired. Full of intrigue, passion, and suspense, Blue Lake sets the stage for a thrilling mystery set against the rich beauty of black spruces, white pines, and austere upper Midwest lakes. This is a compelling and richly layered story about nature and our place within it that lands with rare emotional depth. Moving now from the mystery genre into the dystopian genre, I'm going to recommend David Nune's sparkling new novel, City of Orange. And I say sparkling because I'm a big fan of character study, and this is definitely a character study. So having told you that, let me tell you a little about the plot. Yoon explores the nature of memory and reality in this atmospheric character study. A man wakes in a desert wasteland with no memory of who he is, where he is, or how he got there. As his survival instincts kick in, they bring shards of memories of his life before, including the painful realization that he has, or had, a wife and daughter. He explores his surroundings with extreme caution, discovering a small shelter with food, dozens of totems made from stacked stones, and a deserted condo containing a corpse and a clumsily constructed paper Christmas tree. As his memories seep back slowly, bringing increasing mental anguish, his understanding of his strange surroundings grows through interactions, real or imagined, with crows, an old man, and a young boy. The story moves slowly, but Yoon finds the tension in the smallest of acts, like heating up a can of soup, and builds suspense by teasing out information about the world, forcing readers to question everything. Fans of The Martian will enjoy this new take on the struggle to survive in an unfamiliar land. And that's the Publisher's Weekly Review. This is a neat one. I'm not quite finished with it yet, but I've read 2/3 of it, and it is a very cool book. Our fifth reading recommendation is the new novel Counterfeit by Kirsten Chen. When Ava Wong reconnects with her college roommate, she doesn't expect to get caught up in an international crime ring. Winnie Fang, who left Stanford in disgrace after a cheating scandal, is back in San Francisco and making money hand over fist. When he purchases high-end bags, handbags that is, she sells them on eBay and then returns her purchases, swapping them with quality replicas from China. Ava gets involved while on a trip to China with her young son. Winnie wants her to run an errand, and Ava's credit cards are frozen after a fight with her husband. Eventually, Ava uses her newfound fortune on medical treatments and preschool for her son. Now Ava can't get out of Winnie's clutches. Or can she? Ava tells this story to a detective through her first-person perspective, explaining the whirlwind of events that led her into the mess. Chen's third novel is sly and subversive, an examination of motherhood, and an incisive look at culture and class. When Ava carries her replica bag, people assume she's rich. The handbags are status symbols, but no one truly knows what's going on behind the persona. A read-alike for Amelia Morse's Wildcats with a touch of crime. And that is the book list review. Our sixth recommended read is an enticing new novel called Cult Classic by Sloane Crosley. One night in New York City's Chinatown, a woman is at a work reunion dinner with former colleagues when she excuses herself to buy a pack of cigarettes. On her way back to the table, she runs into a former boyfriend, and then another, and another. Nothing is quite what it seems as the city becomes awash with ghosts of heartbreaks past. What would normally pass for coincidence becomes something far stranger as the recently engaged Lola must contend not only with the viability of her current relationship, but with the fact that both her best friend and her former boss, a magazine editor turned mystical guru, might just have an unhealthy investment in the outcome. Memories of the past swirl and converge in ways both comic and eerie as Lola is forced to decide if she will surrender herself to the conspiring of one very contemporary cult. Is it possible to have a happy ending in an age where the past is ever at your fingertips and sanity is for sale? With her gimlet eye, Sloane Crosley spins a wry literary fantasy that is equal parts page-turner and poignant portrayal of alienation. So this one is different. It's called Cult Classic by Sloane Crosley. Our seventh recommended read is a neat nonfiction title. It's called Dead Famous, An Unexpected History of Celebrity from Bronze Age to Silver Screen by Greg Jenner. Celebrity, with its neon glow and selfie pout, strikes us as hyper-modern. But the famous and infamous have been thrilling, titillating, and outraging us for much longer than we might realize. Whether it was the scandalous Lord Byron, whose poetry sent female fans into an erotic frenzy, or the cheetah-owning, coffin-sleeping, one-legged French actress Sarah Bernhardt, who launched a violent feud with her former best friend, or Edmund Kean, the dazzling Shakespearean actor whose monstrous ego and terrible alcoholism saw him nearly murdered by his own audience. The list of stars whose careers burned bright before the age of television is extensive and thrillingly varied. In this ambitious history that spans the Bronze Age To the coming of Hollywood's golden age, Greg Jenner assembles a vibrant cast of over 125 actors, singers, dancers, sports people, demigods, ruffians, and more in search of celebrities' historical roots. Our 8th recommended read is the new novel Either Or by Elif Botman. In this sequel to Botman's Pulitzer Prize finalist, The Idiot, Selin, the daughter of Turkish immigrants, is now a Harvard sophomore, trying to sort out her loop-de-loop summer in Hungary and her feelings for the slippery Hungarian mathematics student Ivan, even as Ivan's former girlfriend wants to chat. It's as if Selin were in the midst of a thrilling novel, but one unfortunately starring an off-kilter woman who's been dumped. Can she fix that with the help of her literary syllabus and her friends? You'll have to read the book to find out. Our 9th recommended read is the new David Sedaris book, Happy Go Lucky. The best-selling author offers a new collection of satirical and humorous essays that chronicle his own life and ordinary moments that turn beautifully absurd, including how he coped with the pandemic, his thoughts on becoming an orphan in his 7th decade, and the battle-scarred America he discovered when he resumed touring. Our 10th recommended read is historical fiction. It's the new Geraldine Brooks novel, The Horse. It's set in 3 different time periods. So we're going to start out with the first one, Kentucky, 1850. An enslaved groom named Jarrett and a bay foal forge a bond of understanding that will carry the horse to record-setting victories across the South. When the nation erupts in civil war, an itinerant young artist who has made his name on paintings of the racehorse takes up arms for the Union. On a perilous night, he reunites with the stallion and his groom, very far from the glamour of any racetrack. Moving forward to New York City in 1954. Martha Jackson, a gallery owner celebrated for taking risks on edgy contemporary painters, becomes obsessed with a 19th century equestrian oil painting of mysterious provenance. Moving forward again, Washington, D.C., 2019. Jess, a Smithsonian scientist from Australia, and Theo, a Nigerian-American art historian, find themselves unexpectedly connected through their shared interest in the horse, one studying the stallion's bones for clues to his power and endurance, the other uncovering the lost history of the unsung black horsemen who were critical to his racing success. Based on the remarkable true story of the record-breaking thoroughbred Lexington, Horse is a novel of art and science, love and obsession, and our unfinished reckoning with racism. So if you like historical fiction, check out The Horse. Our 11th reading recommendation is the new Riley Sager thriller, The House Across the Lake. Casey Fletcher, a recently widowed actress trying to escape a streak of bad press, has retreated to the peace and quiet of her family's lake house in Vermont. Armed with a pair of binoculars and several bottles of bourbon, she passes the time watching Kim and Catherine Royce, the glamorous couple, living in the house across the lake. They make for good viewing. A tech innovator, Tom is powerful, and a former model, Catherine is gorgeous. One day on the lake, Casey saves Catherine from drowning, and the two strike up a budding friendship. But the more they get to know each other, and the longer Casey watches, it becomes clear that Catherine and Tom's marriage isn't as perfect as it appears. When Catherine suddenly vanishes, Casey immediately suspects Tom of foul play. What she doesn't realize is that there's more to the story than meets the eye, and that shocking secrets can lurk beneath the most placid of surfaces. Packed with sharp characters, psychological suspense, and gasp-worthy plot twists, Riley Sager's The House Across the Lake is the ultimate escapist read. No lake house required. So if you like your summer reading to be of the thriller variety, check out the new book, The House Across the Lake. Our 12th reading recommendation is the intriguing new novel, Invisible Things, by Matt Johnson. A science mission to explore Jupiter discovers something unexpected on the moon Europa and disappears. A chauffeur in Arizona, who believes his wife was abducted by aliens, gets wrapped up in a covert rescue mission. This sounds like a setup for a standard alien encounter story. Instead, Johnson uses the premise to examine many of the immediate problems facing our society today: intolerance, unearned privilege, religious fundamentalism, corrupt politics, and mass obliviousness. There's nothing subtle about this work, and some might find it too on the nose. But there is power in addressing these issues so unflinchingly. His writing style is fairly cerebral, which mutes some of the emotional impact, and that's the point. Johnson has an argument to make, and the story humanizes it enough for it to really hit home. His characters are vivid and compelling, and even the villains retain their full measure of humanity with motivations that make sense. The ending veers unexpectedly into the fantastical while offering a welcome measure of hope. And that's the bookless review, and I don't know about you, but in our current times, I'm all for a book that ends on a hopeful note. Our 13th recommended read is The Late Comer, a novel by Jean Corlitz. The Late Comer follows the story of the wealthy New York City-based Oppenheimer family from the first meeting of parents Salo and Johanna under tragic circumstances to their triplets born during the early days of IVF. As children, the three siblings, Harrison, Lewin, and Sally, feel no strong familial bond and cannot wait to go their separate ways, even as their father becomes more distanced and their mother more desperate. When the triplets leave for college, Johanna, faced with being truly alone, makes the decision to have a fourth child. What role will the latecomer play in this fractured family? We'll have to read the book to find out. Our 14th recommended read is the new book by Hilary Mantel. This is nonfiction. It's called Learning to Talk Stories. In the wake of Hilary Mantel's brilliant conclusion to her award-winning Wolf Hall trilogy, this collection of loosely autobiographical stories locates the transforming moments of a haunted childhood. Absorbing and evocative, these drawn from life stories begin in the 1950s in an insular northern village scoured by bitter winds and rough gossip tongues. For the young narrator, the only way to survive is to get up, get on, and get out. In the story King Billy is a gentleman, the child must come to terms with the loss of a father and the puzzle of a fading Irish heritage. In the story Curved is the Line of Beauty, the narrator chronicles a tale of friendship, faith, and near disaster in a scrapyard. The title story sees our narrator ironing out her northern vowels with the help of an ex-actress with one lung and a Manchester accent. In Third Floor Rising, she watches amazed as her mother carves out a stylish new identity. With a deceptively light touch, Mantell illuminates the poignant experiences of childhood that leave each of us forever changed. Our 15th recommended read is the new novel More Than You'll Ever Know by Katie Gutierrez. Cassie Bowman, who has a part-time job writing true crime posts for a blog, says that every crime story begins with the writer's obsession. Her obsession is double lives, and her dream is to publish her own true crime book. She thinks she struck gold when she reads of a woman, Lore Riviera, who had been a bigamist 3 decades earlier, leading a double life, one with Andres, a husband in Mexico, and the other with another husband, Fabian, in Texas. Discovering the truth, Fabian kills Andres and is sent to prison for 35 years. Sure that this story has the makings of a book, Cassie tracks down Lori in Laredo, Texas, and convinces her to talk about her life. Soon the burgeoning book compromises Carrie's relationship with Duke, her fiancé, and Andrew, her younger brother. Can anything good come of this? In her first book, Gutierrez has written a compelling, character-driven crime story that holds the reader's interest to its very end, which, yes, is slightly ambiguous, but then, as Lori believes, truth is a malleable thing. And that's the book list review. Our 16th recommended summer read is called The Narrowboat Summer by Anne Youngson. Meet Eve, who has left her 30-year career to become a free spirit. Sally, who has waved goodbye to her indifferent husband and 2 grown-up children, and Anastasia, a defiantly independent narrow-boat dweller who is suddenly landlocked and vulnerable. Before they quite know what they've done, Sally and Eve agree to drive Anastasia's narrowboat on a journey through the canals of England as she awaits a life-saving operation. As they glide gently, and not so gently, through the countryside, the eccentricities and challenges of narrowboat life draw them inexorably together, and a tender and unforgettable story unfolds. At summer's end, all 3 women must decide whether to return to the lives they left behind or forge a new path forward. And again, that one's called The Narrowboat Summer. Narrowboat is one word. Our 17th recommended read is the new novel Our Crooked Hearts by Melissa Albert, and this is set 2 time frames. The suburbs, right now. 17-year-old Ivy's summer break kicks off with an accident, a punishment, and a mystery. A stranger, whose appearance in the middle of the road, in the middle of the night, heralds a string of increasingly unsettling events. As the days pass, Ivy grapples with eerie offerings, corroded memories, and a secret she's always known, that there's more to her mother
that meets the eye. The city, back then. Dana has always been perceptive, and the summer she turned 16, with the help of her best friend and an ambitious older girl, her gifts bloom into a heady fling with the supernatural. As the trio's aspirations darken, they find themselves speeding toward a violent breaking point. Years after it began, Ivy and Dana's shared story will come down to a reckoning among a daughter, a mother, and the dark forces they never should have messed with. So for a bit of a supernatural thriller, check out Our Crooked Hearts. Our 18th recommended read is The Perishing by Natasha Dion. Lou, a young black woman, wakes up in an alley in 1930s Los Angeles with no memory of how she got there or where she's from. Taken in by a caring foster family, Lou dedicates herself to her education while trying to put her mysterious origins behind her. She'll go on to become the first black female journalist at the LA Times. But Lou's extraordinary life is about to take an even more remarkable turn. When she befriends a firefighter at a downtown boxing gym, Lou is shocked to realize that though she has no memory of meeting him, she's been drawing his face for years. Increasingly certain that their paths previously crossed, and beset by unexplainable flashes from different eras haunting her dreams, Lou begins to believe that she may be an immortal, sent here for a very important reason, one that only others like her can explain. Setting out to investigate the mystery of her existence, Lou must make sense of the jumble of lifetimes calling to her, just as new forces threaten the existence of those around her. Immersed in the rich historical tapestry of Los Angeles during Prohibition, the creation of Route 66, and the collapse of the St. Francis Dam, The Perishing is a stunning examination of love and justice through the eyes of one miraculous woman whose fate seems linked to the city she comes to call home.
Our 19th recommended read has some humor to it. It's called Tracy Flick Can't Win by Tom Perrotta. The heroine of Perrotta's novel Election returns in this sharp and perfectly executed story of frustrated ambition. Having failed to achieve her youthful career goals, Tracy Flick, now in her mid-40s, is an assistant principal at a New Jersey high school and single mother to 11-year-old Sophia. Though beaten down a little by life, Tracy still harbors ambition and remains determined to reach her goals, and she desperately wants to be voted her school's next principal. To that end, she attaches herself to a tech millionaire's dubious scheme to create a Hall of Fame for the school. The number one choice for its first inductee, though not without controversy, is former football hero Vito Falcone, who has also not lived up to the promise of his glory days. He is currently divorced, in AA, and possibly suffering from CTE. As the Hall of Fame selection committee's debate over who should receive the honor highlights class and race schisms in the high school, an unexpected act of violence alters the course of several lives. As ever, Perrotta writes incisively from several different points of view, illuminating the frustrated inner lives of his characters. Dominating it all is Tracy, whom the readers come to understand better, even through her cringe-worthy machinations. This is the rare sequel that lives up to the original. That's the publisher's weekly review. And if you haven't read the original, it's called Election. It was published in 1998, and it became a really fun movie starring Reese Witherspoon. So you could take a look at the movie and maybe read the book and then check this one out, or some combination of those things. Basically, it's summertime. Read whatever you find the most enjoyable. Even though I'm recommending 21 books, if you find something else enjoyable, read it. As long as you're reading, that's what's cool. Our 20th recommended read is the novel Where the Wild Ladies Are by Akua Matsuda. A busybody aunt who disapproves of hair removal. A pair of door-to-door saleswomen hawking portable lanterns. A cheerful lover who visits every night to take a luxurious bath. A silent house caller who babysits and cleans while a single mother is out working. Where the Wild Ladies Are is populated by these and many other spirited women who also happen to be ghosts. This is a realm in which jealousy, stubbornness, and other excessive so-called female passions are not to be feared or suppressed, but rather cultivated. And chances are, a man named Mr. T will notice your talents and recruit you, dead or alive, to join his mysterious company. Now that sounds like a great book to read while up at the lake, looking out over the lake and the water as twilight is approaching. And I won't give up my day job as being a librarian, but doesn't that sound just the slightest bit spooky for those that like spooky stories? And our 21st and final recommended read is the novel You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Aweka Emezi. Aspiring artist Faye Adokla has been widowed for 5 years when she decides it's time to take her life back. With some prodding from her best friend Joy, Faye slowly eases back into the dating scene with handsome Nasir. Nasir whisks Faye away to a tropical island where she's a guest at his family's home. With the prospect of an art exhibition, exploring a beautiful island, and staying at the home of a celebrity chef, Faye's life seems perfect. However, even though she is dating Nasir, Faye cannot help the feelings she develops for someone else on the island. Will Faye succumb to her feelings and the forbidden romance, or will she stay with Nasir? Verdict. Emezi's latest work is sexy, complex, and moving. The author illustrates the complexities of grief, new love, and a young woman discovering who she is and who she wants to be. And readers will enjoy a new take on a love triangle romance. And that's the Library Journal review. And here's our first part of available formats. That is the titles contained in this book review and which formats they're available in within the system, and digitally, of course. And the list of available formats continued. Just a note about reading catalogs and formats, because we do actually have 3 catalogs that you can access or request content through. And staff is so familiar with these catalogs, at the staff in Library Land, of course, that we forget sometimes to mention that to people because not everybody knows that. So briefly, the 3 catalogs are StarCat, which is like it sounds, starcat.stls.org. That is the catalog of physical library materials, so you can go online and request print books or DVDs or audiobooks on CD if you'd like. Then we have 2 digital catalogs. Online we have the digital catalog itself, which is found at stls.overdrive.com, which features eBooks and downloadable audiobooks, one person at a time format, which means just like print books, if somebody has it checked out, you have to wait your turn. And there's a companion app for that, which is known as Libby. And then we have the Hoopla catalog. And Hoopla is found at hoopladigital.com. You can find all these catalogs listed on our website too. There are links there. But with Hoopla, all content is available on demand. So you can check out 10 items per month, and if you're, say, an audiobook fan, you can go check out 10 audiobooks all at once for a trip. There is an app. Hoopla is available through the App Store, whichever app store you happen to have, or you can go to hoopladigital.com. But, if you're going on a road trip, probably download the Hoopla app to your smartphone and then play it through the speakers in your car. But 10 audiobooks in a month should take care of most people. If you have any questions about that, because I know what I'm talking about, and as people frequently do, when they know what they're talking about, sometimes they leave little details out. So if you have any questions, give us a buzz at the library, 936-3713, area code 607, or just drop in sometime. And briefly, here are our references of the week, aka the articles I used to select the 21 titles I've recommended for early summer reading. Moving on to our next section, next week at the library, a brief listing of the events and activities going on at the library or hosted by the library for the week ahead of us. That's the week of June 19th through the 25th. This information is also found online. Simply go to our website found at ssclibrary.org and click on the big calendar link you'll find on our homepage. On Monday, June 20th, I have 2 items to bring to your attention. The first is that the Friends of the Library Summer Book Sale continues this week and actually concludes on Saturday. Book sale hours are the same Monday through Friday. That's June 20th through the 24th, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then on Saturday, June 25th, the hours are 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and there's a bag and box sale on Saturday, June 25th. And as far as library programs go, we have the June Crafting with Kimberly from 5 to 7 p.m. on Monday, June 20th. This time the project is a rainbow of paper beads. This is a hybrid program which is being held both at the library and offered via Zoom. Registration is required, and this is a creative project. There's one every month, so if you like crafting, you can sign up monthly to Craft with Kimberly. On Tuesday, June 21st, we have a number of items to bring to your attention. The first is the Adult Scrabble program, which runs from 9 to 11 a.m. The location is the library's reading room. Then from 10 to 11 a.m., there's Miss Sue's Storytime in Centerway Square. This is a hybrid program. The location is both the library's Facebook page and, if you want to go in person, Centerway Square. That runs from 10 to 11 a.m. Then from 10:30 to 11, we've got Coffee, Tea, and English Online Conversation, a Zoom program. And finally, from 6 to 7 p.m., we have the June Drive-Through STEM Underwater Volcano. The location of this program is basically you pick up the items to create the volcano at the library from 6 to 7 p.m. And then you take them home, and at your convenience, the kids put the underwater volcano together. So if you have questions about the process itself, you can contact Sue McConnell at the library. But if you register for the program, and I say program, it really is the pickup of supplies, and then you can do the program part of it at your convenience. On Wednesday, June 22nd, we've got 3 programs in Library Land. The first is Mahjong from 1 to 3 p.m. The location is at the library. The second program is the Corning Adult Writers Group, which runs from 6 to 8 p.m. This is a hybrid program being held both at the library and via Zoom. To register for either of those programs, you contact Michelle Wells at the library. Then from 6 to 7 p.m., we have the June Virtual Tween Baking with Miss Abby. This is a Zoom program. It's a monthly program. You have to register, and you have to pick up your baking kit at the library before the program. And then from 6 to 7 p.m. and any time after that, there should be a video available on the YouTube channel so that you can go and cook at your own pace whenever you're ready. If you have questions about that, contact Abby at the library. On Thursday, June 23rd, we've got one program in Library Land. It's Teen Dungeons and Dragons. It runs from 4:30 to 6 p.m. It is being held at the library. The program is led by professional dungeon master Tim Collins, and this gathering is suitable for those ages 13 through 17. All levels of experience will be welcomed in this safe space. Come to one or all gatherings. On Friday, June 24th, we have 3 programs to bring your attention to. The first is Science Time with Miss Abby. It's a Facebook Live program that runs from 10 to 10:30 a.m. And should you miss it, no worries. The program will be available on YouTube anytime after 10:30 a.m. Then from 1 to 1:30 p.m. on Friday, June 24th, there'll be a new edition of Library Connections, which you can access through Facebook or YouTube. Then from 5 to 6 p.m. we have Crochet 101 for young adults and the young at heart with Philomena Jack. That program will be held at the library. And let me tell you about it. You'll be joining yarn lover Philomena Jack as she returns in a hands-on crochet class for newbies and current crocheters. All materials will be supplied for lefties and righties. Crochet is hot again right now, so get in on the action. For young craftspeople ages 10 to 17 and those young at heart. And finally, on Saturday, June 25th, it's the last day of the Friends of the Library Summer Book Sale. You can come in and get a discounted rate on box and bags full of books from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And briefly, here are our library programs contacts. Should you have any questions about any library program, just send us an email, give us a buzz, or drop by the library.
And that's the program for this week. I'll be back next week with a new edition of Library Connections. Have a great week.